all of the scales that you see here, this will be stuff that we apply after the fact, because doing it now is going to be a huge time eater, and we already know that it's not going to last. So let's work on getting the head to look more like a dragon at this point. So our mouth was in here originally, and it's now been removed from the other work that we've done. So let's see if we can get a new mouth carved in. Okay, that's one side. You don't want to forget the front. I mean, you gotta have a mouth in the front. Nose has a little too much meat here in the front, so we're going to peel some of that down. Okay, let's get the rest of this mouth. We want to keep it at the right level that the other side is so that it doesn't look silly. Okay. I think some of this needs to come off. I know this is an extraordinarily slow process and it may drive some of you insane. This is very therapeutic for me. I find it so relaxing. It frustrates me at times because I want it perfect, but the actual act of sculpting, it's my zen. It's what helps me just forget about the rest of the world and relax. So I want my nostrils to be a little more defined. So we're going to cut out a little bit more of that. I want the side wall to be solid, so we need to kind of build it in a little better. Okay. Let's build out this wall. It's nice and wet, so it keeps picking up the clay for us as we do it, which is good. But you want to be careful not to pick up too much clay, because then you'll rupture the edge of your project. Okay, so in the world of mouths, we know we don't just have a line. We kind of have lips, right? So when you can, and you can actually touch the edge, you definitely want to build on that and make it look a little more realistic. I'm not able to get in there without damaging it right now. It's a little too wet. So that part will probably have to wait till another time. Yeah, it's not going to be able to happen today. But soon enough, we'll be able to get to that point. Okay. The neck did hold strong, so we're doing really well there. I'm happy with the neck. I would like the project to sit taller so that I could see it a little easier, but this is what we're working with. So I want the horn to have some skin, you know, so it looks like it's coming out of something. I have these nifty little tools that will let me get into the edges of it. Let's see if I can find the right one here. Oh, that's not them. You gotta be careful when you reach in there. See how sharp that is? I gotta cut my hand. You gotta really pay attention to what you're grabbing, which I can't say I always do. I usually just kind of grab at them. Okay, I think this one will do what we're looking for. It's a nice flat edge, and it'll give us the ability to make a circular imprint around this horn. Make it look like it's coming up out of the flesh. And that's the end goal. We want it to look like it's coming from the flesh. We don't want it to just be sitting on top. Okay, so we've started that process. Now we're going to take and scrape the excess off. So it's a little bit smaller horn, so the illusion of coming out of the flesh is even greater. Everything's in the details when it comes to sculpting, at least in my opinion. I feel like the details make or break your project, and I am crazy obsessed with getting good detail. So you can see it looks like it's starting to break off of there. So we've got to be really careful at this point not to cause damage to the project. So what I want to do is I want to build the line around it. Get it smooth so it's one circular line. I'm not really good with straight lines, so I have to brace my finger against the back of the project to do that. The reason we want this is because, okay, think of it like your fingernail. If you try to make a fingernail on an item without putting the fingernail below the skin, you don't get a realistic effect. And you want the realistic effect. So we work very hard to move these pieces and then relayer them back on each other. So we're going to make a top edge with it. So it looks like skin. It's a little dry. I might need to add some moisture here in a second. It's starting to flake. Okay. So we'll take it. We're going to make that edge to it, and then we're going to lay it back against the piece, and it'll give it a deeper effect, like the horn came out of the skin rather than that it is one piece. And that's the goal. You want it to look like it grew out of it. So right now it's really wet, and I kind of put a little too much moisture, so I'm not able to get the effect I'm going for yet. But it will happen very soon. Just need to give it a second to dry, and then we'll come back to it. But that same effect is going to have to happen on these. So while they're sitting here, we're going to, you know what, it might be easier to do it this way for you. I'm going to take a little bit of the clay. We're going to be adding back to the project, okay? So watch this. If you add clay onto it, where's our smoother? We'll smooth it down really good here so it looks like one piece. But we don't smooth it down so much where it attaches to the horns, so that the horns look like they're coming out of it. Okay, so you know if it's going to grow out of it, it's not going to grow straight. Okay, so now it at least gives the horns a little bit more definition. I need something very, very sharp. Okay. It's like an X-Acto knife, so you got to be really careful. I want it to kind of circle around. It's all still very wet, so it's at a time where damage can definitely be done. But do you see the difference in the way this horn is starting to shape versus just flat? You need that extra oomph of differentiation. So we're going to put some around this one and give you another idea here. Okay. And you want to do the back side too. Don't just focus on the front. I mean, this is a three-dimensional object. You need to make sure that all sides that are going to be visible to the viewer can be appreciated. There's no, I mean, you're not working against a wall here. Every side is going to be seen, so work every side. We haven't gotten to the back side yet because we're just not that far along. We want to take these horns and circle their edges. The horns aren't rough, sharp edges on the sides, so we want to make them more circular. It'll help them look more realistic as we get farther along. Okay. Sharp edge. And if you've got dry clay on your tools, that can definitely cut your edges more than you're looking to cut them. So you need to be careful sometimes to make sure you knock that clay off before you start working with certain tools. Okay, so we see how this is coming up through here. We also want to have that skin, as we were talking about, come around in the middle, because the horn grew up in the middle, right? So it needs that definition on all sides. We'll do the same with the next one. See, little pieces can get hard to place. Your nails and your fingers can get in the way. probably going to have to cut all my nails off in order to finish this project. Remember when I told you we can always add clay and take clay away? That's exactly what we've been doing. We're just adding where we need it and taking away where we don't. It helps us define our project and get it to look the way we want it to look. Okay, let's dig into this one and make a fleshy looking section. This one has a lot already around it, so I think maybe we can avoid adding any on and just cutting from what's here. See how it looks like they're sprouting now up out of the formation instead of just being attached to it? This one has quite a bit of, actually I need to break some of this off. I'm going to end up damaging my project if I don't. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to treat this big fat area as fleshy skin and encircle project to make it look like it's coming up out of the body. We have a little area that got cut. There we go. Okay, so this one section here needs a little bit of meat added